Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. In today's video, we are doing Bakugan Power Scaling Revised. Now, luckily, the one thing that won't be revising in this video is the fact that scaling Bakugan is just scaling Drago. Drago is the protagonist, along with Dan Kuso, and all the scaling revolves around him. Not only does he have more forms than Goku does, he is the center of all scaling that is to do with Bakugan. Now, we're going to skip into the third form of Drago, the Infinity Dragonoid, because it has the easiest scaling to go over. We will go back on his other forms in a moment, but first let's cover this. Infinity Dragonoid is able to beat Naga with the Silent Core. With the Silent Core, Naga has several feats which are very, very easy to scale. For example, Naga's passive existence split New Destroyer, the entire universe, into 6 separate universes with their own time spaces. Also, we know that Naga can also fuse these universes together to make different dimensions. Here's one example where Drago visits the darkest and pyrest dimensions fused together.
I would venture to guess we're in another newly formed world. One that is a combination of both the darkest dimension and a pyrest dimension.
Huh? You sure?
I can't be 100% certain, but it would appear so. It was once destroyed, but now it's being destroyed from within. And to stop its destruction, we must find Naga.
Not only did Drago defeat Naga with the Infinity Core, while Naga had the Silent Core, we also know that he was able to gain the Silent Core, becoming a perfect Dragonoid. So, in the end, he would have twice as much power as Naga had. We also know that without any core whatsoever in his previous form, Drago was able to kill his dragon girlfriend, Wyvern, who had the Infinity Core. And while he doesn't scale to Wyvern in raw power, it is impressed that he's able to accomplish this at all. It's similar to Tien being able to kill Kami back in original Dragon Ball. With that being said, I think it should be quite clear that Drago has twice the power of Naga with the Silent Core, who was able to split a universe into 6 space-time universes, each different attributes, and he should scale to all of it. This should be low multiversal. Now, it should be worth mentioning that many people will disagree with the fact I'm saying that Bakugan are low multiversal, so let's just clarify why this is, and some supporting things. Each realm is stated to be their own dimension. This is said several times. Naga straight up says having the Infinity Core and the Silent Core allows you to control the universe. The universe is very blatant. It's not something like world or planet. It's definitely the universe.
Now he's Infinity Drago!
Nicely played, my friend. Now, it's the Infinity Core against the Silent Core in the ultimate battle where the prize is control of the universe.
And also, when you think about it, this is the Infinity Core. It's not the Finite Core. So it should be very clear that they're trying to go for a grand universal scale. Once Drago has the Infinity and the Silent Core, he's able to merge all the realms back together, fixing the Destroyer and the human world. This would be a total of 7 different universes for low multiversal. However, as said earlier, Drago was already Naga's rival who split them in the first place. So Naga should scale to at least 6 universes. So does that mean that Drago having 2 times Naga's 6 universes would make him 12 universes? Or is he just twice as far into 6 universes of low multiversal? Let's discuss that right now. So to start off, we have to look at the 3 different types of universal scaling you can get in terms of fictional scaling. The first one is finite universal scaling, which is 3A. Then we have high 3A, which is infinite universal scaling. We then have uni plus scaling. And then we have the one which isn't universal scaling, but is useful in a situation, being low multiversal scaling. Now, the finite universal scaling is quite simple. If you are 2 times as much into finite universal, you are still finite universal, you're just twice as high into it. So you could be described as destroying 2 observable universes, but you would never reach infinite with just finite multipliers. When it comes to the infinite universal scaling, yes, you can apply multipliers into it, but it's very meaningless. You're just several infinities, which isn't a very good thing. You're still in the infinite tier. You haven't reached universal plus by doubling it. It's much like the same finite universal. You can't just multiply it to reach the next tier. You need to do something bigger. Now for the harder So when it comes to regards of Uni Plus, we have to take into account that going from Uni Plus to low multiversal means you have enough energy to not only destroy a universe, space-time, and all those other factors, but also affect neighboring universes. Now, can doubling Uni Plus just reach 2 universes and get into low multi? That is not the case. The reason why that is not the case is because when you have such energy expanding, they have to travel a certain distance. And when you are assuming the distances between universes, you are assuming, you don't actually know. This distance is unquantifiable. Because of such, you cannot just slap a simple multiplier onto Universal Plus to reach low multiversal. So being 2 times Universal Plus is not a low multiversal feat. This is important for a lot of Dragon Ball scaling. We also need to now look at the low multiversal. Now, in low multiversal, we actually have the unquantifiable difference. We don't know what it is, but we have it. We can just call it some arbitrary thing. Call it D for distance. And then when we scale into more universes, we just repeat what we've already got. We repeat our unquantifiable distance. Because while we don't know what it is fair to assume that that unquantifiable distance is apparent for other universes. You need to have a standard universe model. So what this means is that, unlike Universal Plus, for low multi, multiplying the scaling for how many universes you do, so getting 2 times stronger in low multiversal, should increase the number of universes you affect in low multiversal. So if you affect 2 universes and you get twice as strong, you should then affect 4 universes. And this is again because we are including the unquantifiable difference already in your first step into low multiversal. This is important for Bakugan scaling, as they are going to get very high very quickly. With that being said, let's now look at how powerful Drago is at this point in the series. We have Naga, who is able to affect the human world and the Bakugan world, New Destroyer, and he's able to split the Bakugan world into 6 different realms. So in total, there is a total of 7 universal realms. Drago gaining Naga's power, while beating Naga, should be 2 times this, at 14 universes at this point in the story. After Drago fixes New Destroyer, he then becomes part of it until he's released later on at the beginning of Bakugan Battle Controllers, New Destroyer. He's shown to still have the level of power he had before, having the perfect core inside of him, which is the Infinity Core and the Silent Core together, and with this he still continues his scaling. We then note that Drago loses to Helios. Helios gets a mechanical upgrade. Helios then gets extra Bakugan to equip to himself to become Maximus Helios. And similarly, Drago needs to get extra Bakugan pieces to become Maximum Dragonoid. Now these pieces are worth 500 G. I haven't mentioned this so far in the video, but the G rankings are the power of Bakugan and are more meaningless than Yu-Gi-Oh! Attack points. When trying to figure out how strong each one of these Bakugan pieces are, we must look more at the lore-wise side of things. For example, we know that Cyborg Helios is actually based on the power of the perfect core inside Drago. That's how he got so much stronger and how they made it in the first place.
What are we going to do now that Drago is gone?
Never mind. I got all the data I needed, Gus.
We then know that the mechanical Bakugan were also designed after other Bakugan. These ones were designed after Drago especially, and we know they had to fight Drago to actually gain their full potential after we had to get the data on them.
Back off, Mira. You've already done enough damage as it is. I finally got this under control.
I can't. Spectre is counting on me for data too.
Because of such, we can say that each Bakugan piece is pretty much a perfect core. Perfect core being 12 universes. So 6 pieces, 72 universes. Add that to Drago's 14. That should be a total of 86 universes. And now 86 is very high, but we're about to go much, much higher. After the battle between Helios and Drago, it then came into apparent that there were new legendary Bakugan inside the series called the Legendary Warriors. 1 for each attribute, all 6 of them. With this, after their defeat to King Xenohell, they gave away their power so that King Xenohell couldn't use the power themselves, and they gave the Pyrus attribute to Drago.
Not long after we freed New Destroyer, came out of hiding and brought with him the Bakugan termination system. It's a machine designed to destroy all of the Bakugan. But in order to power it, he needed the attribute energies of the 6 ancient warriors. But the ancients tricked Xeno and transferred their powers to 6 Bakugan. Their energies caused the Bakugan to evolve into more powerful versions of themselves. The fate of the Bakugan.
Now, in terms of a quantification of how much stronger Drago got, it's not very clear at all. We can use the G power, but honestly those aren't very good. What we can do is look at the form that comes straight after this. The form that comes straight after this is obtained when Drago stops the BT system. The BT system is powered by all 6 Legendary Warriors' energy, so we think it's 6 times more. However, it's a lot more, because the BT system is able to turn every Bakugan on New Destroyer into their ball mode. There is an entire race of Bakugan. In fact, when it was split into 6 realms, it was shown to have each realm having their own races of Bakugans. But if we were to lowball and just say there's only one race of Bakugan, so how they got split into their attribute types, we would say there's somewhere about 6-7 billion Bakugan that all would get completely dominated by this one thing. Drago absorbing this would scale to 6-7 billion Bakugan. Now, in terms of how this scaling works, we can then say that the Bakugan are some portion, similar to Drago was, some portion of the perfect core, and the infinity core and the silent core. Now let's do what's called Fermi estimation. Fermi estimation is where we take an extreme low end to balance the extreme high end. So our extreme high end is our 7 billion Bakugan. Let's say on the extreme low end that it takes around 1,000 Bakugan to rival the silent core. Even though we saw that just 6 Bakugan could actually affect Naga when he had the silent core, let's say it takes 1,000. With that being said, Naga could affect 7 realms with the silent core, so 1,000 of them would be 0.007. So looking at that and times it by 7 billion, we would get approximately 49 million universes. This is also just an estimate, so if we just say Drago is vaguely in the millions of universes, that works too. Now, despite Drago having the power of millions of universes, all together, some multiversal level power, he very quickly gets power creeped. At the very end of Bakugan Bakudra's New Destroyer, we find out that the next arc is to do with the Gundalian invaders, and these Gundalian invaders happen to be stronger than the artificial Bakugan. The artificial Bakugan are programmed in a simulation made by Mewtwo, and this simulation has Bakugan as strong as Drago, the exact same G power, and they're able to fight Drago, and in fact most of the time be stronger than him before we get used to using battle gear. So this would mean that artificial Bakugan all scale to millions of universes, and most of the Gundalian invaders are actually on similar levels of power, so they all are at millions of universes of power. I'm going to low estimate here and just say millions. This will be important later on because there is a feat later on that is very impressive that involves Drago. For now, let's go into his next forms. His next form is quite underwhelming. After defeating a certain Bakugan that had the element, and the element must be kept away from the Gundalian invaders, the element was given to Drago. This element is not very impressive whatsoever. It had the power to turn unfertile lands to fertile, and that was about it. In fact, Drago doesn't really do anything remotely impressive while he has his power up either, so we can just say he got some power up, but he's still in the millions of universes range. There's nothing too impressive. With the next form of Drago being a Blitz Dragonoid, you wouldn't expect too much of a boost. You see, he fights Dragonoid Colossus, defeats it on the second time round, and when he does so, he transforms into Blitz Dragonoid. However, this feat is actually extremely impressive. You see, defeating Dragonoid Colossus would mean that he surpassed Dragonoid Colossus in terms of raw power. Dragonoid Colossus was able to beat Lionheart's hidden power. Lionheart's hidden power was so powerful, it was going to destroy the planet of Nephia and all the Bakugan on it, all the Gundalians and all the Nethians.
We can't give up on our dream, Red! Not now! Not never! What? That is the forbidden power! No, Reinhardt! never seen such power! Whatever this is, it's going to rip the planet in two! I know! Rhino, stop it! Stop it!
Did you see that?
I think so.
Trying to quantify this, as this is quite difficult. You see, you could estimate the entire planet to say that the planet should roam with Bakugan, considering each member of the races have their own Bakugan. However, we never actually see a full planet's worth of people from either Gundalia or Nethia. If we were to say a full planet's worth of people, we can do a high end, but we also should respectfully do a low end. We do see cities worth, so we will do a low end with just cities. This low end, we will assume there's about 100,000 in each city. It's quite low. Some cities in the world in real life have millions of people, so 100,000 is not too much. If we have 100,000 Bakugan, all at 1,000,000 times universal each, and Drago now scales above all of them at the same time, we're looking at 100 billion universes. Now, if we're going more on the high end and saying, I don't know, there are 1 billion Bakugan, just 1 billion, so 1/7 there are people in real life, then we would say Drago is more along the lines of 1 quadrillion times universal. This would mean Drago is starting to approach levels of power similar to that of Mono in my Little Nightmare videos. Go check those out. After winning the final climactic fight of Bakugan Battle Golers Gundalian Invaders, Drago gains Code Eve and gains all its power. Code Eve is the original data of Bakugan, sort of like Digimon, and with this, Drago evolves into Titanium Dragonoid. Now, the boost between the previous form of Dragonoid, Blitz Dragonoid, and Titanium Dragonoid is not very clear whatsoever. All we know is he got stronger. He is quoted as the strongest Bakugan unconditionally at this point in the series. However, his power isn't fully unlocked, and that's a theme throughout the rest of the next series, Bakugan Battle Rollers Mectanium Surge, where he's constantly trying to unlock his power, and this is how he progressive. It makes sense in a way, because Code Eve is the source of all Bakugan's data, so it makes sense that if Drago was obtaining it, he would sort of adapt and become stronger, reaching the full potential of all Bakugan, and that's kind of what we see when it looks at Titanium Dragonoid. Now, this next form of scaling, we actually have 3 different ways of doing it, because once again, Drago surpasses hundreds, if not thousands, of Bakugan all at the same time. The first way of doing it is Bakugan, as he's unlocking his power, unlocks his own Mectagon. Mectagon being a giant mechanical Bakugan, sort of like a Guardian, if you will. And his one is able to defeat hundreds of Chaos Bakugan on his own. Now, Drago was able to actually beat his own Mectagon and then summon a Mectagon Titan, which is so powerful it could beat 3 Mectagon at the same time. And by the end of the series, he's so powerful he could quite literally one-shot his Mectagon and Mectagon Titan at the same time. We know this because Racenoid did exactly this. In fact, we can actually go a lot higher. The next type of scaling, to show he can be thousands of times stronger, is with my personal favourite character of Bakugan, Darkness Infinity Helios. This Bakugan's first appearance was showing up to the Chaos Bakugan, and first thing he did was just obliterate an entire army of them in only a couple minutes. In fact, it only took 3 abilities to do most of the work, and yet Helios is completely hopeless against Racenoid once again, who someone Drago upscales from eventually. We can scale Helios directly to the Mectagon Titans, because Mectagon Titans require Helios' strongest abilities or armor equipment to beat, and we then can scale Racenoid even higher. The final form of scaling is through Raconoid themselves. Because here's the thing, with Raconoid, all the Chaos Bakugan we see them do is just Bakugan they created. And these Chaos Bakugan are very powerful. They're about as powerful as Titanium Dragonoid was at the start of Mectanium Surge. As Drago gets stronger, they start becoming relevant very quickly. But they're about as strong as the base Drago, which is, as said before, either 100 billion universes or a quadrillion universe. Now we need to go into Raconoid. As mentioned earlier, Helios, as well as Mectagon Titans, should scale to thousands of Chaos Bakugan, which scale to Titanium Dragonoid, while Titanium Dragonoid was at his weakest, which at his weakness is somewhere between 100 billion universes and a quadrillion universes, so it's not really that weak. For scaling to thousands of those, and Raconoid making 5 Mectagon Titans, we can say that he is 5,000 times this. This makes him either 500 trillion universes or 5 quintillion universes. But this is more on the conservative aspect. If we think more lore-wise, Raconoid at this point in the series is now complete. He's complete with his Code Eve evolution of using the Gating Key. He is complete. Now, if you complete all your evolution, you would think that there would be some sort of power cap. Having a finite number of universes isn't really that much of a power cap because you can always add another universe or quantification. And if we think again, when he made these Mectagon Titans, he did it passively. None of the characters who can scale to Mectagon Titans like Helios can't even damage Raconoid. If no one can damage him, no one really scales to him. Drago doesn't even scale to him, and he also has the Gating Key and Code E, but he's still evolving and isn't complete yet.
Took out all the Mectagon! Just one shot! Okay, you swine. I've had enough of this. Rang Rock Buster! Ah! Now I'm really angry. Alua! Move! Unbelievable! He took down Helios.
With that being said, we can then go to a statement made by Magmel, Raconoid's owner, and say that when he said that he and Raconoid had limitless power, it is very possible they actually have limitless power. They might actually be infinite 4D at this point in the series. This would be the strongest they can be without reaching 5th dimensional, and it makes sense lore-wise that they can't evolve any further.
I don't understand why none of those attacks did any damage! Now that Raconoid and I have been reborn, our powers are limitless.
Now, of course, being the protagonist, Drago and Dan are able to evolve themselves to become the final form of Drago, which is actually able to defeat Raconoid. This would mean Drago and the strongest of Bakugan scale to infinite 4D. Now for the final part of scaling, which isn't actually of Bakugan, but just Mectagon. You see, for some reason, there are these Mectagon locked away in the Doom Dimension. These Mectagon got stronger with time. In fact, they were originally Bakugan, but they evolved into these Mectagon, and they were able to leave the Doom Dimension. A feat completely inconceivable, as it's meant to be the sort of end of all places for Bakugan. When they're able to leave the Doom Dimension, they come back into the real world, and they are stronger than Drago. Drago is impressive to him, as he is the strongest Bakugan, but as Mectagon, they are inherently stronger, especially at this evolved level. We later find out at the end of the series that when Drago gets trapped in the same place, even his power is unable to escape it. This could mean that if we go along the infinite 4D side of scaling, that these Mectagon might actually be like baseline 5D, the very lowest of 5D. But this makes it interesting for some later scaling. You see, Drago unlocks his own Mectagon, called the Dragonoid Destroyer, a very cool name, and is able to defeat those Bakugan. Now, as those Mectagon keep coming back and back, they're able to get stronger each time, and eventually it forces Dragonoid Destroyer to use one of his own abilities. And what one of his abilities does, he absorbs the energy of other Bakugan and Mectagon to become infinite Gs in terms of power. Now, if we interpret that as an infinite boost, we can say definitively Dragonoid Destroyer is bare minimum infinite 4D. However, if we look at the scaling of the Mectagon themselves possibly being 5D, then Dragonoid Destroyer is very possibly infinite 5D. Okay, now it's time for the summary. The base Bakugan at the very start of the series can group together to affect people like Naga with the Silent Core, which has low multiversal levels of power, so they can group up to do low multiversal level feats. The mechanical Bakugan, Cyborg Bakugan, and Bakugan with the perfect core, silent core, and all that sort of thing can all scale to low multiversal quite comfortably. The ranges of power here are from 12 universes all the way up to 86 universes, all into low multiversal. The artificial Bakugan and the alien Bakugan that would surpass them would be in the millions of universes, scaling past the BT system that could destroy a planet worth of OG Bakugan. The Chaos Bakugan scale 100 billion to 1 quadrillion universes based on Ironheart's hidden power and the Dragonoid Colossus. Mectagon and Darkness Infinity Helios scale 100 trillion to 1 quintillion universes based on how them taking out thousands of Chaos Bakugan. Drago and Racenoid can either be 5 times their power at 500 trillion universes or 5 quintillion universes to a possible infinite 4D scale of power. Dragonoid Destroyer and possibly some others in the verse can reach infinite 4D to possibly infinite 5D. Now, just to justify the video's thumbnail where I claim that Bakugan are stronger than Pokemon, let's first start off by saying that, on average, Bakugan are stronger than Pokemon. The average Pokemon is not low multiversal. The average Bakugan is, if not way higher. The other thing we can discuss in a later video, perhaps, is what's stronger between the strongest Bakugan and the strongest Pokemon. That might be an interesting topic, who would win between Arceus and perhaps Drago in a fight. Thank you all for watching. This video was a lot longer than I thought it would be. It was longer than the last revision video I did, where it was the revision of my 5D Goku scaling. I'll have a link to that just here. Also, as always, link to both Korin, Keefe, and Captain Forest, other chads who make videos more frequent than I do. Check out both their channels, and as always, have a good day. Thank you for watching.